Yes, it is. You're asking in April. So ask me again in July, I might have a different answer. Sunday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday. Although if it rains this week, maybe Monday will be the most exciting day if it does run into a fifth day. Loads of good options, loads of underrated holes. I really like the 7th. I love the 14th. The spine that works the way through the middle of that green is a fascinating, to watch the approach shots on that hole. It's always sort of edge of your seat stuff, but nothing is as edge of your seat as when the ball's in the air on 15. So that's my favorite hole. Whether it's a wedge third shot or whether it's your second shot, it's just a fascinating hole. I can remember so many great shots that changed tournaments or at least played a big part in defining them. And I think that 15th hole again, hopefully on Sunday rather than Monday, will play a huge part in this week. I'll go with strokes gained approach. It kind of always is. The one thing I would say though is that strokes gained around the green or even scrambling is of heightened importance. So if you're going versus last week's Texas Open, say, or the Players Championship, then what you do around the greens is of more significance here at Augusta. We know why. Shaved runoffs, some really difficult chips. You've got to have nerve as well as the technical ability to execute those shots. And I think if you look at Masters champions, Patrick Reed would be a great example, but also someone like Hideki Matsuyama, so good around the green, so confident hitting those shots. And again, we'll see a champion this week that is happy doing that. And we saw one last year when Scotty Scheffler, of course, chipped in at the 3rd on his way to winning. I don't know, really. What I would say is I don't think it'll be a positive. It might not be a negative, but I don't see how being the defending champion this week is going to be a good thing for Scotty Scheffler. Obviously, got to get through the Champions Dinner on Tuesday night, could turn into a bit of a food fight, but once the tournament begins, it's historically just been really, really hard to win this thing back to back. I really hope so, and there's loads that's in his favour. He's shaved an inch off his driver, that seems to have worked. He's got a new putter, a new old putter, that seems to have worked. His approach play has been really good for a really long time, and that's not always been the case with Rory. Changed his ball at this tournament last year and his career was revitalised, and the only thing really now to do is to go and win this tournament. I don't think he's had many better chances, and every drop of rain that falls will help, as will that new tee on 13. There really aren't that many players in this field who can sling a hook around that corner. Dustin Johnson, one of the biggest hitters in golf, has said he doesn't think he'll go for the green in 2. If Rory drives it well, he will, and that's a massive advantage. So yeah, everything's in his favour, and I for one will be cheering him on at the end of the tournament, even though he's not in my selections. Yeah, Jon Rahm's preparation's been quite strange. He, of course, withdrew from the Players Championship when he wasn't feeling well after a pretty good start, and then he was knocked out of the match play, even though he played pretty well there. I would say that doesn't look great on paper, but at the same time, and we talk about this in a load of different sports, like you can peak too soon, you can play too well in the run-up, or at least you can be too busy, too much in contention, expending mental energy. He's not had to do that, and obviously he started the season brilliantly, so it's not a worry. The biggest worry with Rahm is that he's not really had a chance to win this yet, certainly not on Sunday, and for that reason he was my 3rd most likely winner, but clearly if he does don that green jacket on Sunday, I won't be surprised. Yeah, Homa's not done a lot here or in any major yet. That'll change. I think it'll change this year. I don't see any reason why he won't go close to winning the US Open back in California, his home state where he's so deadly. Here at Augusta, he obviously has a bit to prove after 3 low-key starts so far. He's got the all-round game for it. He's got the temperament. You know, he wouldn't be a surprise winner in that sense, but historically, you've got to have done something better than he has to win this. So if you're asking me what to expect, I think he'll play well. I think he'll lay the foundations to play even better in future years. But for now, if you're looking for his major breakthrough, I think you might be best waiting 2 months. I think the way he played at the weekend, you'd have to say Brooks Koepka. You know, he's won 2 of these LIV tournaments, which is more than all the others. He's the first player to win 2. He's got a great record at Augusta, albeit his last couple of appearances haven't gone to plan. He's had some injury problems, of course. I think you know, he's probably one of the most motivated golfers on the LIV Tour. I think he's probably the one who didn't want to go to the LIV Tour. And I think, you know, it seems like good timing for him. Cam Smith's got a bit of a nagging injury concern, I think, with his wrist, and he admits he's not playing well. I don't think Dustin Johnson's entirely focused and certainly not at his best. So I would say Koepka. Also watch out for Patrick Reed and Mito Pereira. He's a debutant, but I think he could play really well. Yeah, look, I'm obviously no fan of the LIV Golf Tour. I don't think it helps players. Dustin Johnson said it wasn't that different to his usual preparation. Well, that wasn't true. He's played 3 times this year. Every other time he's arrived at the Masters, he played 6, 7, 8, or even 9 times. So clearly, there's a risk that he's undercooked, and the same risk applies to some of the others. That being said, they're world-class golfers, at least some of them are. The ones who are here are Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed, Cameron Smith. None of them would surprise me if they won. DJ, of course, contended for the Open last year. I selected him for that tournament. I also selected Reed. So I've no issue with considering all of them on merit, but I don't think it's a positive that they're playing the LIV Golf Tour. It's just not something that's insurmountable for some hugely talented players, several of whom have done it before. Yeah, it's really difficult to assess the LIV players. There's no strokes gained data, you know, no real depth to the fields. You know, some of these tournaments don't take a lot of winning. You know, Koepka at the weekend, he's beaten Sebastian Munoz, he's a good player. But when Scheffler's won tournaments this year, he's had to beat Jon Rahm in Phoenix. When Rahm won a Riviera, he had to beat Max Homa. When he won in Hawaii, he had to beat Colin Morikawa. It's so much more tangible and so much more competitive. So it's hard, but not impossible. And I judge each of them on their merits. I just didn't think any of them were quite a big enough price to be chanting. No, I don't think it's too soon to be saying that Cantlay and Scheffler have had too many chances. I think you look at some of the guys who've won this tournament, Adam Scott, Sergio Garcia. If Sergio hadn't won it, it would have been Justin Rose, who of course won the US Open in 2013, but he'd had to wait a long time for that. Patience is really important at Augusta, and I think it's really important if you're betting on the Masters, because you know, we only get one chance to do that every year, and it's too easy to say, well, they disappointed me last year, or in my case with Justin Thomas, each of the last 5 years. But it's really not that many chances, right? And where Cantlay and Scheffler are concerned, they're 2 of the very best players in the world. They've performed to a very high standard across a load of different events, and they've nearly won majors. Cantlay hit the front here when Tiger Woods won it. Scheffler, of course, had a good chance at Carnoustie and a couple of others as well. He hit it in the water here on the 16th when Hideki won it. So they've been there, they've been close. And most major champions, not all of them, most of them have felt what it's like to lose one before they win one. And both of those players will have many more chances. And I think Cantlay in particular should expect to have them this year. Yeah, Cantlay, Scheffler would be the 2 most obvious next major winners. You've got loads more: Cam Young, Sam Burns, Will Zalatoris, you know, loads and loads of options. I think Sung Jae Im could go really close to winning one this year. And the Masters has been a good one for breakthrough major winners of late. You know, Bubba won his first here, Adam Scott, Charles Schwartzel, Danny Willett, Patrick Reed, Hideki Matsuyama. Plenty of examples of players who've turned up here without winning a major and got it done. So many players who are just ready now. I think the pool of potential major champions has never been bigger. I'm not sure there's a Zalatoris in this field. He was kind of a unique case, but there are some debutants I think will play well, and my pick among them is Sahith Theegala. Now, obviously, Tom Kim's probably the most high profile of the rookies here, and I think his future is enormously bright, including here at Augusta. But I think Theegala could really like it. He likes to shape the ball both ways. He's long off the tee, but he can be a bit wild. He reminds me a little bit of Bubba Watson, actually, in the way he goes about playing the game. Swashbuckling, I suppose, would be the word you might hear in commentary. I think he could really enjoy this on debut. He's played nicely for most of the year, and I was tempted by him. Obviously, the last debut winner was in 1979. Theegala's not even won on the PGA Tour yet, so I think probably a top 10 is the best we can expect, but I'll be backing him in the top debutant market, that's for sure. No, 13 will play tougher, I'm nearly certain of that. They've lengthened the hole. Not only does that just add pure yardage, it takes away options because this is not a straight hole, it's a dog leg to the left. A lot of players just can't cut the corner anymore. I think it's just a handful that can do that, Rory McIlroy being one of them. A lot will lay up, a lot will hit 3-wood, iron, wedge. And yeah, that removes some of the risk, but it also makes it a lot harder to be making an eagle, almost impossible, and certainly means birdie's going to be harder to come by. I don't think we should assume that everyone's going to be spinning a wedge to 2 feet, especially when the pin's at the back. That's a really hard thing to do. So it also brings long into play, which is the worst place to miss, apart from in that creek. So yeah, it'll be a harder hole, I'm sure of it. I think it'll be a better hole, and it's just a shame it's not going to play firm, because I think to be at its absolute best, it needs to be firm and fast, which it won't be this year with all the rain. I am useless at predicting winning scores and cut lines. -10 has won the last 2. I would say it could be tougher because it's going to be cool, it's going to be wet, it's going to be long. But obviously that takes away some of the fire from the golf course. So I'll go -8 for a winning score, but only because you've made me pick one. Yeah, I really hope so, and don't see why not. 10 major top 10s, played in the final group here before, never missed a cut at the Masters, shot 64 here, everything in his favour, I think, and certainly a player I expect to go really close. Look, I don't think there's a lot to be gained in trying to guess how Tiger Woods is feeling and how he's going to play. So much of it is guesswork, right? The biggest chunk of predicting his performance is what's his physical condition, how much practice has he done, how's he been playing in practice? I don't know the answers to those questions, so he's not a player I'm really interested in backing either in a positive or a negative way. But in the spirit of a Q&A, I will say that he makes the cut and he does so comfortably. Look, he did that at Riviera, he's much more comfortable at Augusta, and he's Tiger Woods. For the most part, I think the LIV golfers will be fine, right? Most of them are not all of a sudden really unpopular. Most of them have managed not to say something that will upset people. Sergio Garcia and Patrick Reed have. Patrick Reed was on his own in practice on Monday, and I don't think he'll be one who's getting a lot of warmth from his competitors, and rightly so, I might add. Some players like Cam Smith, who's been pretty honest about things, who even said that the LIV Tour is not as competitive as the PGA Tour. No reason to have any ill feeling towards players like that. And as far as the crowds go, remember, you can get thrown out of Augusta for running. You will get thrown out if you get your phone out. So if you start heckling, I think you'll be shown the exit door pretty quickly. I've called it a golfing Switzerland in my preview, and I think they'll be really, really keen to let the golf do the talking. And if anyone does get ideas above their station from the crowd, which they shouldn't, I think they'll soon regret it. No, I don't think DJ's being massively undervalued. I think there's a lot of well-informed chat that he didn't necessarily hit a lot of golf balls in the off-season. He's played 3 times since. He's not played very well by his standards. Bit better last week, but still not good enough to believe that he's one of the most likely winners of this tournament. It wouldn't surprise me he's Dustin Johnson. He's won this before, and he's a 2-time major champion, one of the most naturally gifted golfers of the last 20 years. But I think he's on the wane, and until he gets to bigger prices, I don't think I'll be that interested in backing him. Yeah, it should be easier, shouldn't it? I've not tipped the winner of the Masters yet before the tournament begins, so it's not that easy. Hopefully things will change this year. Look, I don't think the 18th is the best finishing hole in golf. I'll give you that. I think there are tougher places to finish. I think if you need a par to win a major, you probably would pick the 18th at Augusta, and some would say, therefore, it's a bit of a weakness. I'm not so sure. I mean, it's sacrilege to criticise Augusta, and there aren't many false steps on that golf course. So, look, it probably just needs another 20 yards on the tee box, to be frank. That bunker on the left needs to be more threatening, and the trees on the right as well. But there's not a lot wrong with it, and it's still a hole that you've got to go and play, and there'll be plenty of mistakes there. taking the sort of routing of the course, the very well thought out routing by someone far more informed and educated in that aspect of golf than I am. So obviously I wouldn't really interfere with it. The one thing you could potentially do, and just to be clear, I don't think they should, but you could swap 9 and 18. They're basically next to each other, and the 9th is, I would say, just a little bit more volatile. If you're walking up the 9th needing a par to win, I think you're a bit more nervous than you are on 18. And for that reason, yeah, maybe it would be a better finishing hole, but I'm happy with Augusta just as it is. Yes, everything does start with the course. It's the variable, right? There are loads of sports like darts and snooker that the board's the same, the table's the same every week, and it's really hard to find reasons to expect better or worse performance than, say, a player's baseline in any given tournament. In golf, it isn't. We can apply the variables that are given to us by the golf course. At Augusta this week, it's longer than most courses. It's going to play long. You've got to be better around the green than most courses, and your iron play has got to be really sharp. And contrary to what many would think, you don't necessarily need to putt that well. And that's different to Texas last week, it's different to Sawgrass. Every course is somewhat unique, and Augusta in particular. So yeah, it's the place to start with any research. Cam Smith winning, or any LIV golfer winning the Masters, would be a big story in golf. There's no denying that. If Rory McIlroy wins the Grand Slam, it's a huge story in all of sport. No contest. Rory McIlroy winning the Masters is the biggest story that can happen this week, bar perhaps Tiger Woods winning it again. But even then, I think Rory winning it this time to complete the career Grand Slam is the biggest story we could possibly get, and blows anything LIV related out of the water.